Good morning. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. We get a fun one. I feel like we haven't talked about Top Shot all that much, except for, that sick ass tweet from the other day. So we've got a special guest, long overdue. Metz is going to be joining us. Let's get going. All right, let's get into some housekeeping right away. I saw our man Sneeps sent a moment over. I saw K Dunn sent a moment over. So we'll fire up a giveaway here towards the end. Just like the stream, subscribe, put hashtag Mets into the chat. Who do we have in here this morning? I see Sneeps up in here. K Dunn, Orion, Stubbs, good morning. Veronica's here. The Rhino, Rad Dad, Deep Threat, Snoopaloop, Reagan's here. Willis is here. Good morning to all 798 buyers. Blazemore's here. Marvin's here. Congrats on your little So Rare win last night. Yotza, Maddie Harrison usually have the stream up before it starts while working. The current intro is much less startling than the previous one. Yeah, we've adjusted the vibes here. We got Willis. All right, we already started the giveaway. Let me just see. J-Fog, Perfect Cereal. We'll get more as we come. A couple of housekeeping things. This is the only live stream today, and then stand by for tomorrow. I'll be traveling tomorrow, so unclear what Wednesday night looks like. So most likely I'll see you again on Friday. Maybe some more scripted stuff pre-recorded stuff coming at you for the rest of the week. Follow all the links, right? So if you haven't signed up for So Rare yet, do that. Get your free stuff. Join the Discord. Look at this beautiful mustache we're still working on. So go ahead, look at the Movember campaign if you have a little extra for that, as we raise some funds for men's mental health and health awareness and all that fun stuff. I'm feeling fresh this morning, mainly because I got up and saw Argentina lose. I watched the second half of Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia. That was incredible. But enough of that. We're not here for the footy. Let's get our man, long overdue, Jay, is on the show. What's going on, my guy?
What's up, Mike?
Dude, thanks for being down to hang out. I know we've broken bread over in the Tandyverse, but good to have you over here.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Ever since I stopped wanting to beat the shit out of you, I've really liked you. So I wanted to come on and break bread with you on your show.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to do it. Glad we were able to meet in Vegas too. I think that was a lot of fun. Hey, different times back then, different times. Before I also went full Joker on everything.
Right. It's funny how things come full circle sometimes.
Yeah. If you're here long enough, you too will get angry. I guess that's what I would say to
some of us started angry.
Yeah. Let's I was saying at the top of the show and said to you before we get on, I feel like I haven't really talked about Top Shot too much outside of a few minutes at the end of the show to just kind of poke around, mainly because it's been a bummer lately. I and not only a bummer, sorry, up a little bit, so I apologize if that's on my end. Not only is it it's just not fun to make content around right now. I don't know, there's not a lot of stuff to mess around with. So I don't know. Take me through where you're at right now.
Yeah, good question. First of all, can you hear and see me? Because you're a little choppy. I don't know if it's your end or my end.
It's 100% on my end.
Okay. Man, where is it right now? I think I don't know how to answer that question, to be totally honest with you. I think they're either really trying to figure stuff out, or they're trying to flatten the whole thing to kind of put price pressure back down, make it as accessible as possible. And then I think they're going to be up for acquisition. Having worked in business the last, 20-ish years with big brands, I just feel like there's lots of evidence and I'm not trying to like be an alarmist or whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
calling it how I see it. I do think that I don't think they want to run their own brands anymore. I think, Dapper, they wanted to create these incredible proofs of concept around their own blockchain. And I think they picked stuff that they thought would be super accessible, super ubiquitous, have large fan bases that would eventually come in. But I don't think they ever wanted something that was going to be, so precious that people were going to spend tons and tons of money to get into it and feel, so emotionally invested and financially invested in the experience. And I think, in some cases intentionally, in some cases unintentionally, the writing just became on the wall. I think it got too big for them to genuinely handle themselves. And all they really want to do is build the biggest blockchain on the planet. And they want to show other big brands that, look, you can do it here.
Right.
I don't think they want to run this brand anymore. And to me, it's almost akin to when teams tank for the number one pick, especially like before they changed the odds. And it was like, if you tank really bad, like you have a really good fucking chance of getting that number one pick.
Yeah.
So what, those teams don't try to lose, right? But they put players on the court that can't win. Like they don't stop running plays. The coach keeps running plays, but the coach is running plays with players that can't run the plays. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's a lot of parallels to that.
Man, that's so interesting. I haven't thought about it like that. I mean, I have toyed around with the idea, this whole like acquisition thing, just with the way the directions are, like with the way everything's been heading. It just feels very haphazard. That does make me feel bad for everyone, the way that you just described it working there at Top Shot or All Day or whatever product, where like if they are almost intentionally, not intentionally, but like that makes it very difficult for them to do their job if they're almost if like you say, the writing is on the wall, right?
Yeah, that could have been me. I could have been one of those people that was working there. Many people don't know this, but no, dead serious. I can't keep track of time anymore. I don't know if it was 6 months ago or 13 months ago, somewhere in that time horizon. I was working for another brand within the Dapper ecosystem, and I reached out to Janie. It was the first conversation she and I had. I was like, hey, I've got some really dope partnership ideas for you. I think it would really benefit Top Shot and the Top Shot user base. And, selfishly for what I was doing, having a brand like Top Shot to partner with, would have been the pinnacle. And, 10 minutes into our first conversation, she's like, I don't want to partner with you. I want to bring you on board. I want you on board with Top Shot. I want you to help me grow this thing. And then the whole conversation became very different. And, long story short, my response was, I don't know if I'm done being a collector yet. Like I have so much invested in this financially, but also emotionally. I like this thing. But no doubt, like I will definitely come on board as a consultant, whatever that looks like, whatever that means. And then, within, I don't know, I think 2 weeks later, she reached back out to me and she said, look, somebody from within told me I can't hire you. It's as simple as that. I shudder to think, like, listen, I'm not going to change the world, probably. But one thing is for certain, had I come on board, let's say a year ago, in an official capacity, I sure as shit wouldn't have been a yes man. Like I sure as shit would have pushed against bad ideas. And sometimes that's all it takes in a big organization. Because a lot of people just kind of fall in line. They have like this one person at the top who, has this aura about them. And it's really hard to challenge those people. Of everything I'm good at, and I'll be honest with you, there's not many things that I'm very good at. I'm really fucking good at that. And I think that's how I've always been able to affect change from within. So I'm sad, about that, because who knows, maybe I could have made a difference.
I know, you're like the third or fourth person that I've talked to that, like was sort of approached with like reached out about something and they were like, what if you just like worked for us instead? Which sounded like, it felt, honestly, it feels manipulative, I think, because I don't, and this is me speculating. I don't think there were a lot of opportunities that were open, right? But what they do is they set up this conversation to be like, wow, dude, you actually have some like pretty sharp ideas that make a lot of sense, almost like court you a little bit. Because I truly have heard this from this like exact story, not the part where someone reached back out and they're like, actually we can't work, we don't want you here, but like I've heard we're working on a job description, we got to create this specific position for you, and then like crickets, like months go by. So
this wasn't that. This was like, here's like exactly what I need from a marketing perspective. Here's exactly
Yeah.
what I need from a growth and partnerships perspective. I need this person. Like I
Yeah.
need this person in order to make this thing what I want it to be.
Yeah.
And then, maybe I won't say his name, but I think the guy with the accent, a couple weeks later said no.
The guy with the accent. There's a couple of
You
guys
like
with
that?
accents, though. There's a couple of guys with
Yeah.
accents.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's. That's such an interesting theory. The whole idea of acquisition, because I really hadn't thought about that. And I know like people in the chat too were like, "Well, Bob Iger just got Disney," and then like I'm sure the Disney rumors were still flying around again. What about like I guess like more short term stuff? Like what were your thoughts? So they just introduced yesterday. I haven't had a chance to like be on for this yet. This like Thanksgiving Day pack that they're doing where it's $1, right? It's like it's a $1 pack. I mean, I'm sorry, a $3 pack for a $1 moment, essentially.
And you have a chance. I don't know if you read the fine print.
Yeah.
I think in like 100 of the packs, there's a turkey leg in the actual pack.
Okay,
like a physical turkey leg in your digital pack. I don't know how the fuck they figured that out, but
it's fidgetals, dude. It's the fidgetals. That is going to be the bridge.
What it is.
I don't know. Yeah. What was your take on this like iteration of stuff? I know they're introducing the parallels and all of that shit. Like where do you land on like what they're doing short term?
Yeah, I think it's all kind of smoke and mirrors. I don't really think it's consequential one way or another. Instead of selling 3-moment packs for $9, they're selling 1-moment packs for $3. I don't understand, it's not good, it's not bad, it just is. It's kind of one of those things. I think, they have investors, right? They have to hit certain numbers. I'm sure there's a metric in there somewhere that says, and how many packs did you sell? And now they can immediately sell 3 times the number of packs, even though it's the same number of moments and the same amount of money. I don't really think it's worth talking about because I don't think it's important.
Yeah, the only thing that struck a chord with me was that this is like the second Donovan Mitchell rare that's come out this series. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but like over the summer, with the game recognized game and the W rare set, right, with the Ryan Howard moment, how like all of a sudden, bang, two rares of the same player in the same series come out within like 2 weeks of each other. And all hubbub, right? Like everybody was mad on Twitter. There was a lot of discord back and forth, and it was like, oh yeah, we need to, from the top, they're like, we need to do better. This falls on me. We'll never let this happen again. And then what? Like a couple months later, we have the same thing, right? With the Donovan Mitchell situation, where like this is his second rare and like in the series, and we're freaking, it's November 22nd. The league's been going for like 33 days this season. So that was like my biggest thing. It was like, how are we here again? Like what, how, like what, no one saw this. And it just makes me wonder, like it'd be different if like over during the W's, when the W thing happened, if they were just like, yeah, that's just going to happen sometimes. Then I would have been like, okay, well, at least we know. But you actually went out there and were like, nah, dude, we'll never do that again. That was just an oversight. And then like, dude, 3 months later, we're back here again. Like how does that happen?
I mean, it's very simple. In order for something to be an oversight, it means that somebody must be overseeing it.
Right.
No, and it's not a joke. Nobody's looking at that stuff, right? It's a very disconnected ecosystem. Each silo within Dapper Sports, especially within Top Shot, they kind of work independently of one another. I had a conversation with Matt. Everybody loves Matt. Matt's like the most accessible guy at that company. He wears his heart on his sleeve, like, flash challenges, the fucking wheel, all that great stuff. Philly guy. He's a good dude. I had a conversation with him shortly after the Top Shot team went on the offensive around locking. Like, yo, you got to lock your shit. It's chess, not checkers. If you lock your shit, really great stuff is going to happen. And then after people started locking on Matt, I had a chat with Matt, and I was like, so how is this going to affect your flash challenge thing? Because if everybody's got their shit locked and you guys are talking about burning, how are you going to have people burn if they got all their shit locked? And his response was basically, yeah, I didn't know they were doing this. This really hurts my ability to run a successful game on the platform. So I say that to say, I think for a very long time, there have been very disconnected pieces of this ecosystem that don't really work in unison whatsoever. And now you had the added complexity of, the person who's, theoretically overseeing all of it has been gone essentially since the season started, with no replacement. They fired a quarter of their staff, perhaps some of whom would have been charged to kind of take a look at some of this stuff. and I don't know if this is public or if I'm leaking fucking trade secrets again. But Jacob came into VIP recently because the VIP crowd is also very angry about two Donovan Mitchell rares in a very short period of time, and he's like, "My bad. Like, yeah, we shouldn't have done that, but we thought." This could be a great marketing ploy. Like, it's going to be great for marketing and user acquisition to have Donovan Mitchell in this particular set. I didn't understand that part. Nobody really understood that part. But nobody's at the wheel. Like, and no disrespect, there's a lot of moving pieces. But the way they're structured, it kind of reminds me of this time that you and I were talking. Maybe it was about 14 minutes ago about the team that's unintentionally trying to tank. They're, you know what I'm saying? Like, you make sloppy decisions because you don't have the right structure in place, and you don't have the right structure in place because you're trying to achieve certain macro goals without actually telling people, "Hey, I want you to tank."
Well, and it's the same thing that I've been saying, like, truly for over a year now. And I'm sure that, like, drink, I guess, like, if that's the game that we're playing, but like it's so clear that the infrastructure is broken. It's like, so like, it is so, I mean, and again, I like joked about that tweet that went out yesterday from the Top Shot account. And I don't think it's a big deal, but I think it's funny. Like, I think it's funny that happened. And I think it's another.
Which tweet?
The one that was just like, hey, you see this guy selling off his account for 80%, dude? What if, like, let's amplify that? And it's like, what? Maybe there is a place for that, right? And where it probably is in the VIP chat or in the Discord, where you're like, hey, if you're looking at some Grail moments that are on sale for like very cheap, here's an avenue for it. But
you know what that does? It creates precedent. And now the next whale that wants to offload, they're going to maybe reach out to the powers that be and say, hey, how much for you to tweet out my collection?
Right.
And like, I don't,
And I don't think that was the intention behind the tweet, right? And I don't think that is something that would happen in the future. I think it was more of a one-off thing where, flying a little too close to the sun, crushing the Twitter account. Let me just continue to fire these tweets off. But that right there in itself is like another example, because I'm sure a lot of the people that worked at Top Shot saw that tweet go out and be like, dude, what the fuck? Why is that out there? Right. And so again, another like disconnect of everybody doing their own thing. And right now you have, and I think he's doing a good job. So this isn't supposed to be dunking on an individual, but it's another point of like the person in charge of like blog writing is now doing marketing and is now tweeting. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, you're going to have mistakes if that's happening. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it just continues to show like everybody's doing their own thing and just, winging it almost. It feels like they're almost winging it,
there's no playbook.
Right.
There's clearly no playbook. There's clearly no kind of cohesive strategy. It's hard for us to be overly critical on this particular topic because we all know it's Sean, right? Like we all know it's Sean. Sean came from the community. He deeply cares about the product. He probably cares more about the product than almost anybody else that works there. And, when he took over the reins of social, social was not great. I don't want to be too critical of it, but, most of the content they were pushing out was atrocious. They weren't really engaging the community. They weren't engaging in basketball conversation. They weren't following their biggest collectors. And like immediately within 5 minutes of Sean taking over Top Shot Twitter, he's following everybody. He's getting involved in every single conversation. He's got no playbook. He's figuring it out as he goes along. He's completely gone rogue, to his credit. Because why not go rogue? Because everything was bad before he stepped in. And like en masse throughout the community, people are like, holy shit, Top Shot Twitter account is like, it's got life to it. It's talking about hoops. It's following me. It's talking to me like I'm a human. People love that shit. So yeah, I think when you do that, of course you're going to fuck up every now and then. Was it a bad look to retweet Scaly Nelson, saying, hey, all my shit is 25% below floor. Buy my shit because I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. Yeah, of course. Like that's not a great look, but I don't know. That's like the least of their problem.
No, totally. That's what and that's what I was trying to say, like, because everyone was like, oh man, you're gonna go in. I'm like, I'm not gonna go in. I mean, this is funny. Like I had a good laugh over it. I screenshot it immediately because I knew it was gonna be deleted in like 20 minutes. So I was like, it was very funny. But I'm like, that to me is not, it's not like that specific thing is not the problem, but it highlights like the greater problem of just like everyone is kind of doing their own thing because they have to.
I think it highlights a different problem. I think it highlights the original sin of Top Shot that I've talked about, probably way too much without getting any
whales.
I love whales. Like it's such a misnomer. Every product needs whales. Every product needs VIPs. Every product needs people who are willing to foolishly dump a shit ton of money into it because they're passionate about it or they believe it or they think they're going to turn it, whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
No, the original sin of Top Shot was that they gave all their best shit to like 10 of their buddies, from day one. And then 5 minutes later, Roham's out there saying, we're going to have 1 billion users. So if the plan all along was to have 1 billion users, it's probably not intelligent to give all your shit to the early adopters who probably aren't in it because they're basketball fans in the first place. So they're not going to be good stewards of the brand. They're probably in it like they're in every other crypto project to flip it for as much profit as fast as possible.
Yeah.
That's not a scalable business model. And that one topic, I think, doomed Top Shot. I think that's the single problem that has continued to doom this platform, because if there wasn't such financial strain on the product, people wouldn't be as upset. People wouldn't have dumped the platform in the first place. They would have stayed. It would have been all about hoops, these fun collectibles, relatively accessible access point. But because they did that, it caused the spike that they weren't prepared for. Nobody wanted this thing to spike. They didn't want it to spike internally. They had to kind of pivot, turn it into something that it wasn't. And that perhaps will be the death blow that kills this brand and forces them to move forward from owning their own brands and have somebody acquire it, because that's
that is going to be tough.
Sin.
Yeah, I know. I think there is a lot of validity to that. I also don't like, because I know every time Andy sells something, Twitter goes bonkers, and I'm like, I don't think Andy didn't make the mistake. Like, Andy's not the problem. Like, to me, those people aren't the problem. Like, dude, go get your money. If you want to get out, like, go get out. I wanted to share Veronica's comment to not necessarily pivot us, but maybe
Veronica.
Veronica. Yeah, we do.
Do you have a female viewer?
Yeah, I think we have 2. I think we have Veronica's
shit.
one. Yeah, which is like, honestly makes us one of the more diverse.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Do you think that's because of your good looks or your charm?
No, neither. I don't think. Yeah. I don't think either. I think
I didn't either.
No, I think Veronica was just really bored, and we appreciate her being here, and she's helped us out a bunch too. But she said,
"Shout out Veronica."
Shout out Veronica. She says, "Do we think there's any saving Top Shot? I feel like a lot of us want it to be saved, and I think that is I think sometimes people are like, oh, dude, you just actually I know specific people at Top Shot have told me that I just FUD for clicks, which it's like, dude, I'm not getting enough clicks for FUD to be useful. But we all definitely are like in on this. We want this to do well. We're excited about it. Clearly, we're here talking about it in the morning. But like, what like trajectory? Like, how does this bump up a little bit? And I'm not even talking about like money wise. I'm not talking about everybody all of a sudden making bank. But like, where does the positivity come? Oh, that's right. We got Sandra. That's right. Sandra was the other one. We got 2. Shout out Sandra and Veronica. Thank you for being here.
Shout out Sandra. Shout out Flovatar.
Yeah. Shout out Flovatar.
Great brand.
But like, when does this start bouncing back up? Does it start bouncing back up? And like, I don't know. What sort of positive vibes can we bring?
Here's the reality of it. I think they're at such a trust deficit. I think they have, over the course of the last year and a half plus, they have done so many things, some intentional, some were total mistakes, some were quasi insider trading, some were misleading people about Soho lounges and hot dogs and whatever the fuck else. I think they've done so much, and angst pillows and whatever else you want to kind of add to the mix. I think they've done so many things to erode the trust and positivity and goodwill of the user base that for them to quote unquote come back, I genuinely think they need new leadership. And I'm not calling for people to get fired. That's not my game at all. I don't want anybody to lose their job ever, but I do want the right people in the right role. And I think it's so integral for leadership of any company to have a bond that's rooted in trust with their customers, especially their most important and high profile and highest spending and most influential customers.
Yeah.
I think they've reached a point genuinely where that trust deficit cannot be made up. It's like, I don't know about you. I think you're relatively recently married. I've been with this same woman for, I guess, 8 years now. Like, every time I do one bad thing, she tells me, you now need to do 20 good things to make it up to me. Like, that's a fact. And I know that going in. I still do bad things, I'm a fucking idiot and a jackass, and I try not to. But I think the same is true here. I think they've done so many bad things that the user base that they currently have is like, now you got to do 20 good things to make it up for me. And I still won't necessarily trust you.
Right.
It's not palatable. I don't think it happens. I don't. But that said, listen, the product's not rocket science, right? Like, they took trading cards, which we all liked as kids, and they put them on the blockchain and they made them video, and they're kind of fun. And obviously people like different parts of it. I think the product has potential. I obviously think the blockchain has potential. I think it's the future. I think they have the early early adopter advantage. They were here first. I don't think this team, in all honesty, can regain the trust of a user base that is just so badly scorned.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
To your point too, I always think of poker like where you might run on fire. You might run incredible for like 2 hours and then you get bad beat once. And the only story you tell other people is how you get screwed that one time. Like you don't tell them all the 20 other times where you ran hot. And I think it's a similar thing. It's a similar thing. And I totally agree with that.
And by the way, like, yes, we're talking specifically about negatives because that's the context of the conversation. Top Shot has done amazing things. Totally. Dapper has done amazing things. Roham and his crew, they literally invented an industry by themselves. Yeah. Like, that's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And obviously, Flow as a blockchain has incredible potential, which is why big brands like fucking Mattel and others are coming onto this chain. He's created the proof of concept. It works. Nobody gets hacked. This shit doesn't go down. Like, Flow is an incredible blockchain that has all the potential in the world. I also think Top Shot has a lot of potential. I don't think it's inevitable like some people do. Oh, trading cards on the internet. Like, no, I don't think that that's a given that everybody in the world, 8 billion people in China are automatically going to want to play this game with us. But I do think the product in theory is sound. I just think that trust deficit is too much to overcome.
Yeah, I think I would bet like whatever's left of my Top Shot account that we do see like a sizable shift in management leadership by like January. I would think like I to me, they're like the writings on the wall, and I'd be surprised if there's no change. I'd be a little bit more concerned because if there was ever a time to do it, and again, I'm not rooting for anyone. Like I'm sure people will be transitioned and moved around into different roles, but they have to, and that's not an individual's fault, but like it's too bad. It's too like you're absolutely right. The trust is look, dude. I have created an entire like community around this shit. I want this shit to succeed almost as much as anybody else. I love talking about basketball. I love talking.
Well, you're hedging your bets.
Yeah. Well,
they don't call you So Rare Zakarian for nothing.
Dude, but do you want to know what it is? And I'm not saying I need to be coddled and hugged more than anyone else because I from that generation. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but like, dude, no one and even sorry, Tandy, no one is putting in the amount of work that I've been putting in towards this, the amount or have like maintained any sort of community sentiment vibe while everything was down, while everyone else went and talked about other stuff. We're like, no, we're going to keep grinding basketball because that's what we are jacked up about. Right. And time again, they have let me know both with their words and their actions that they're not interested in what I'm doing here. And that's fine. But I'm gonna go find people that are interested. And So Rare immediately was like, oh my God, yeah, you're doing a bunch of basketball stuff. Your community makes a ton of sense for what we're doing. Yeah. Come on over. Let's work together. And so that and to me, honestly, and again, this impacts me more than it impacts like the general collector. But like that to me shows how broken they are. Like if you are not every fucking thing out there partners up with content creators, right? That's like what you do. That and to not find a way to do that. And I've like created the opportunities. I've been like, hey, here are a list of things that we can do. I'm not even looking for money, man. I'm just trying to make this thing happen. And they're just not interested in doing it. And then like, tell me what they've done this year to do any sort of like hype community building things outside of being like, victory lapping the captains like Treaticus is the only one building any sort of good energy and vibes, and he's another volunteer. Like another volunteer.
We think. Yeah. I don't know. A part of me thinks that he's a mole and they planted him in there with his.
No, he's not. He's not.
Shout out Chris. No, I think it's weird, and it kind of goes back to the original topic about tanking without telling your players to lose. It's just not in their playbook. They don't think that they're a content company. And I think Sean thinks that they are a content, like Sean and Austin, right? Like they're like, we're a basketball company. We need to tell really compelling basketball stories. We need to have really great basketball content. But I think philosophically, early leadership, let's call him Alan, right? And like other people around this person, like they're a crypto company, right? Like they don't need to tell stories. It wasn't even about basketball. The people who collected early on, they didn't know who 90% of the players were.
Yeah.
right? There's stories about all these whales who collected all these obscure players. For what reason? Nobody knows. They
Yeah.
don't fucking know.
That's
That was the
literally
game
why
they
we
were
started
playing.
this channel, because I was like, oh, there's a bunch of people in Top Shot. No one knows basketball. And I don't know
100%.
Top Shot, but I was like, I can talk about basketball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, that was the early iteration of Top Shot. It had nothing to do with basketball. Basketball was just the pretty picture that they put on top of their token. It was about the token and whatever else. We don't have to get into that. And then I think the next kind of evolution of how they thought about themselves was, oh, we're just like FanDuel and DraftKings, right? Like we don't need to tell really compelling stories. We just need to do pay-per-click advertising and find people that want to gamble on basketball. And it's not really about loving basketball at that point. It's more about being an analyst and wanting to get in on the action. Wrong, right? Like that didn't work. That hasn't worked. Like they were supposed to follow that model, but no, this is a basketball brand. So all of which is to say, I think when they do get acquired, and I think when new leadership comes in, I think the first thing they're going to do is say, how do we become more relevant in basketball culture? How do we partner ourselves with people who are amazing, incredible basketball storytellers? Because that's actually how you scale this thing. That's where they were wrong. That's where Rohan was wrong. He thought that he could scale a basketball brand because everybody was going to come into blockchain and Web3 and want to be part of it. No, the way he was going to scale a basketball brand was to scale it to basketball fans. And that's the only kind of piece of the equation that he got wrong, and they continue to get wrong. And Sean is trying, and Austin tries. But, unfortunately, the writing is kind of on the wall. But I do think that that's where the potential lies. And by the way, becoming part of basketball culture doesn't necessarily mean coming onto Team Hold's podcast.
No,
right?
no.
There's a diversity problem with Top Shot. We need, and I'm going to come out and say it, I want them to be part of street culture. I want them to be part of sneaker culture. I want black people on NBA Top Shot because that's what basketball is and that's what basketball looks like. And until and unless that happens, it's not a basketball brand. And it's not about, being racial, but like basketball is a certain part of a culture. And like, that's not what this is. And that's not what you are. You can be part of it, but that ain't your culture.
No. They like coming on a Team Hold is not helping anybody. Like everybody that's here right now is already here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this isn't this. I'm not going to be marketing, right? But like they should have like when Trio when they were hosting the pack drops, like Ricari and Eddie and Shady, like they're not even like deep into the basketball streets either, and they were incredible. They were awesome, and like they like get them out there a little bit more and drop a bag, man. Pay them. No Dunks guys. They should have paid the No Dunks guys. Like fuck everyone else that was hosting stuff. Just drop a bag to No Dunks, because those are hoop heads. The people that follow them are hoop heads. Like those are the spots that they should have been hanging around a little bit more. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
And music, right? Like music and hip hop and basketball go together incredibly well. That's such untapped potential with the product and the platform. There's no musical piece. There's no fashion piece. Like anything that we love about basketball is kind of absent from the brand. And, it goes back to the people building the product for the longest time weren't basketball people. So it's like, how do you build a basketball brand without basketball people? They didn't have basketball people on the product side. They didn't have basketball people on the moment curation side until Austin came in. They didn't have basketball people on the community management side, right? Like, and that's where a lot of the people in the community first got turned off by the product, is you had these hall monitors on Discord and Twitter, like shouting people down. It's like, dude, you don't get this at all. Like, you don't understand the culture of the subject matter that you're working in. How the fuck are you going to be front and center and talking to me and telling me what I can and can't say? Trash talk is part of the game. It's part of the culture. We can't do that. There's no opportunity for us to actually engage like you do in this cult. Like, and that part still hasn't been fixed. And, it will be with new management. I'm 100% sure of it.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you this now. When's the last time you've purchased anything? Are you buying anything? Yeah. What are you buying right now?
I was bored. Like, listen, I'm a degenerate, man. Like I love the action. I love to gamble. Like I love Vegas. The reason I first got into Top Shot is because they told me it was the stock market of the NBA, and I was like, I need the action. Like I can't go to a casino every night. I'm not allowed to. I'm only allowed to go like once a month or once every 2 months, depending upon how badly I do. But like I need it. Like I need the dopamine hit. What else am I gonna do? Sit on the couch with my cats. So yeah, like I love these flash challenges, man. Even now, because I hate the flash challenges because they fucking ruined them. I still love them in like a weird kind of sick way. So I saw John Wall. He's only got 2 rare moments on the platform. Halftime, he's got 7 assists. All he needs is 2 more assists in the second half. You know what? just going to waste a
They
$100
get
or
wall on.
so and get a wall.
Also,
And then of course he didn't hit and I lose it, but who cares? I've lost so much money on the platform. It doesn't matter anymore.
that part's fun. I like that's what I miss. I enjoyed that spec stuff. Dude, listen, I'm seeing Dumbo in the chat. Dumbo wants to get on here. Are we ready for a Dumbo Metz face off? Are you I'm gonna give you the option though.
He's gonna lie about the community. I have the
I'm
option.
Yeah, I'm not gonna force that upon you. You're a guest. So, but if you want a little Dumbo action, we can. I could get him on here. For
you know what? I love Luke for so many reasons. I love that he loves the limelight. I love that he loves to be part of everything. I'm gonna say no this time around.
Oh God,
Luke, you know where to find me. If you want to chit chat, hit me up on Discord. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm not gonna have you steal my limelight right now.
Okay, he's talking about 2021. All right. We won't do it.
2020. Yeah.
But thanks
for watching.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Hold on. You're going to like the stream, subscribe, put hashtag Metz in the chat. We're up to 51 entries. We got 2 giveaways that we're going to fire up here at the end. We got 2 giveaways we're going to fire up on the end, and we'll shout out Sneeps and who was it? K-Dun who threw a moment over there. Yeah, I don't think I like the super draft stuff. I was ready to mess around with, and it seems like that didn't gain enough steam to continue, or they moved back to just the free stuff. But that was like the closest I've come to buying stuff recently, where I was like, oh yeah, let me pick up like a moment here to like, again, combining like daily fantasy with because to me, that was like what was keeping some of the excitement last year when everything was kind of going down and the vibes were bad. People were still jacked up about like moment ranks, even though that's such a small, simple thing. Being able to use those moments, create a lineup, creates conversation. There's a lot of talk in the Discord around it. And then they seem to have like punted on that this year as well. And I don't know, there might be a combination of Dapper saying like, hey, we're going to pump the brakes on how much money we're giving you. It might be moment ranks being like, hey, we're actually focusing on, what did they say? Unfucking the community. I believe that was their meme when the collective rebrand. So I don't know. But like, it seems like anything that had some momentum, they've decided to be like, nah, we're going to pass. And that's bummed me out.
I think it's probably a two-way street. I think, for some reason, there's still so much friction with a lot of these third-party products. I think, to Dapper's credit, they saw a lot of really smart people building dope shit kind of on the sidelines that they thought that they could just simply attach to their product. And I don't think there was ever critical mass of adoption of any of those products. Maybe save a live token or some of the others. They thought that like a good percentage of people on Top Shot would migrate to these other platforms, and then it would justify supporting them. Even moment ranks, like how many people played last year at the peak? Like a few thousand.
I think they were up around like 3,500 when it was like really, really bumping.
Right. When in theory, maybe we had 10x that number of users at that point in time, maybe even more if it was at the peak. I just think there's still so much friction, and for some reason, people would rather stay on the home platform. Even now, Evaluate Market came out with this really, really dope trading feature. People like me, who like to, assemble sets and all this other shit, like we've been waiting for the ability to trade in a safe environment for the longest time. Evaluate Market rolls it out. Now, granted, it's only been around for a couple of weeks, but like most people I talk to have never heard of it. They've never touched it. They've never experienced it. And it's an amazing product. So I think there's just a little friction, to go from the home platform to these ancillary pieces. And maybe if you don't get critical mass and you don't get enough adoption, it doesn't make sense to support it. I don't know.
I think the difference with Evaluate Market though is they like were super into Top Shot, right? And then took a year off. Where they like stopped building and seemed to stop giving a shit about Top Shot. And so I think for them to then come back, it's going to take a little bit because everyone else has been like, well, no, I use On the Moment now. Or I use, like they found their third party that was going to continue to do Top Shot related stuff. And they kind of stopped doing it. So
but even On the Moment, even Super Draft, like Super Draft is another great example. Like in theory, it's a really dope product, but there's just a lot of friction going from Top Shot to these other platforms. Obviously, like, if these add-on products were integrated into the core experience and there was zero friction, everybody would adopt it. Everybody wants more cool stuff to do. I just think everybody's like moving in so many different directions at once. And like, I don't know, it's hard to learn new habits. I think it really just kind of boils down to that. And hopefully, they've been talking about this app is going to come out at some point this year. Shit, man, we're already
there's no way,
like,
dude.
We'll see.
Yeah, there's no way.
But if and when they do release an app, if it has some of these features built in, or if it's easier to add on the features onto an app, I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to eliminate friction. People are fucking lazy. People don't want to learn new shit. You have to make it as easy as possible to migrate from the core experience into some of these ancillary experiences.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I think the friction is an issue with some of that. I just don't know. I don't know what they're doing right now or what there is on the platform that's keeping people excited and engaged. I mean, even although I guess there's still a handful of people on Twitter that will just blame the collectors for the reason that the attitude is bad. Um,
That's just
uh,
kind of part of woke culture, right? It's like everything's my fault. Like I'm the center of the universe. So if something's bad, it's obviously because of me and people like me. I hate that shit. Like let's blame ourselves.
I
Stop.
I mean, I'm all for blaming ourselves when it's our fault. I'm like, there's of course there's some truth to it. There's definitely a lot of like, I'm not saying there's not toxicity on fucking Twitter. I mean, obviously. But I just love the idea that like that's the reason. Like, don't tweet anything negative. That's the reason it's going down. Um,
I'd
hold on.
rather people be negative about my product than don't tweet at all, right? Like it's so much
Right.
easier to pinpoint people who are frustrated. Sean did it brilliantly yesterday. I forget Tanner or whatever. He was on Twitter like everybody does every so often. Like I'm done. Like I can't do top shit anymore. You finally lost me, right? And people do that all the time. And Sean like immediately messaged him back. He's like, "Yo, let's talk about it. Let's have a one-on-one." I love that. Like I love that he's kind of stepping up and stepping in, because when somebody is so passionate that they're willing to complain about something vocally, it usually means that they can be turned back into an advocate, right? Like the line between love and hate is so thin. It's apathy that you really need to be concerned about. And that's kind of where we've gotten. Like you said at the start of the show, like you're not even involved in this shit anymore. You're not even following it. You literally built a brand around it. And you don't know half the shit that's going on because
I
you
mean, yeah.
lost interest.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I'll continue to, I'm paying attention to it, and like when stuff comes out, I'm consuming it. But like, I'm every time I've said anything that's critical, I get a message from someone at the company. So it's just like, why, like, how is that fucking helpful? And how is that like? I guess they can't afford to do their own marketing, it feels like. So they're like, we're going to use these content creators who we don't pay. They'll be our marketing, even though like the people that I'm talking to are already here. And then if I say anything negative, they're like, why would you do that? Don't you work for us? And it's like, no, I don't work for you, man. I don't work for you. And everyone's always like, oh, yeah, but dude, what about Vegas, man? Didn't they fly you out there and pay you for that event? No, the only reason they put any money into the event was because they forgot to do the fucking convention that they said they were going to do. And then they were like embarrassed. So they were like, oh, we'll give you some money to pay for the event, not to pay me. God. I wanted to, Rad Dad brought up something a second ago, and it said, and shout out real Rad Dad. You want to talk about someone who's continued to grind in here and like wade through the FUD. It's this guy. But he said leaderboards were an easy thing to lean into and spark some hype and competition. And then his next comment, I want to share this. He says, like, when's the last time we heard them talk about them or hype the next reward so people can be buying and locking to attain that? Could use leaderboards to disperse player moments versus pack drops. Dude, I think that's like a great point because I haven't heard
100%.
anything about leaderboards, right?
It should be the talk of the town. We should be
Yeah.
talking about and focusing and obsessing about our place on leaderboards every day. Like it's such an easy win, and there's so many ways that they could get people to buy into the hype and feel buying pressure every day for so many different reasons. It also is a way to reward the thing that you say you want people to do most, which is take supply off the marketplace and lock it down for a long period of time. It's also a way to identify who your biggest users are and who your most passionate evangelists are, and reward them so that they stick around and keep spending money. Like it is such an easy trigger point to do so many things to make people happy, make people feel like they've made the right decision. But it's also a great tool that the brand can use. I don't think the tech is ready. I don't think they don't want to use leaderboards. I think they didn't prioritize leaderboards for God knows what reason, and they don't have the tech. Just like that's why they're not doing locking challenge. I don't have the tech. I don't know why.
I totally agree. And I know people are like, well, dude, they did the Clay experience and the Cade experience. Like that encourages locking. It doesn't. That actually doesn't encourage locking. Like that impacts, 0.004% of the community where again, like you talking about, I saw Will had a great idea. Easy cheat code challenges could be locked for leaderboard spots for corresponding team. Like just ingratiating locking into like the everyday conversation. Like literally the only time I see anybody talk about locking right now is like, oh man, it's going to get ugly when you can unlock in a year. Like that's the only discourse around it. And I mean, we really haven't heard. Yeah, I know. And we haven't heard Top Shot talk about it like at all, man.
Here's my take on it, just from a macro level. Like, I'm kind of tired of talking about ideas. Like, dude, we've all been out there for what, a year and a half, almost 2 years now. We've all given our ideas, right? Like, like the VIP crowd, some of them hate my guts, which is fine. Like I don't mind being hated by different cohorts of people. I'm sure there's valid reasons. But like I spent a little bit of time in there last week or a few weeks ago. I don't even know when. Like it's like a never ending supply of like really great ideas from the people who have the most to lose and have the most invested in the platform. It's an amazing focus group. Any brand that I've ever worked for, if I get a focus group of like 600 of my biggest customers, and they're literally every single day, not just like spouting out one-liners, but like really thoughtful, multi-layered ideas that they themselves will spend lots of money on. If you do, like, they've got the ideas. Like they have no shortage of ideas. I'm sure they've looked at it. They probably have binders full of really great ideas divided by subject matter. So like, I don't know. I don't want to give ideas anymore. I don't even want to talk about these ideas. We all know what the ideas are. Like we all know what could help the turnaround. But again, it goes back to how we started this conversation.
Right.
I think the playbook is such that we're not telling our team to specifically miss shots and lose games, but we're going to make sure we put players on the court that can't win, because that's the goal right now. Is we're trying to level it all out. We don't want any of this big explosive financial component kind of getting in the way of our goal of mass adoption. We want this to be the most accessible basketball platform on the planet. We want kids to be able to come in, buy stuff for $4 or $5. We want their parents to be able to give the okay and say, yeah, this is a safe place for you to be. If little Timmy comes into Top Shot and moments are flying for $15,000, $25,000, mom's not going to give Timmy the credit card. It's just that simple. But if Timmy can get in with the credit card and not cause mom to go bankrupt, it all of a sudden becomes a really not scary place for Timmy to be. And then at that point, once they have 1 million actual users, I know for a while there they were saying, yeah, we've got 1 million users. Once they have 1 million actual users, if the natural, scheme of things pushes prices back up to a certain level, okay, now everybody knows the game that they're playing. But I think that's the goal. And I think if you want these things to quote unquote lose value without, doing things over the top that are kind of obvious and intentional, then you have to say no to good ideas. It's that simple.
Yeah, I like to go back to the VIP conversation too, and I saw Rad Dad was like agreeing with you here, where he said, "God, the chat's fired up today. I like how much stuff we're getting in here." And I forgot to start. Oh, he said, "When is the last time we heard them talk?" Oh no, shit, that was the wrong message. But basically saying something like it's exhausting screaming into the void into the VIP chat every day. And here it is. That's what VIP has been the last 18 months. It's exhausting to be shouting into the void. Let me throw something else at it, everybody. When's the last time we've like heard from them? Where it's not been like even the VIPs, right? When's the last time someone dropped in that wasn't like in response to some like aggressive negativity? Like when's the last time, you know what I'm saying? Like it's only been anytime we hear from them, it's either a Friday Spaces where they're like, here's the hoop action coming at you this weekend. Or it's, in response to like something negative. And like Weisberg even said something too that said, no, that wasn't it. But isn't the core issue here that we haven't really heard from leadership and that they're only giving us real information in the VIP, which I also want to address too. I think it's okay that the VIPs get information first or they get different conversations. That's essentially how it works. If it's important enough, it'll come out to everybody. So I don't want to be on that side of the fence where it's like, we all need to get it at the same time. I don't agree with that. But I don't know. I agree. We haven't like heard from anybody in a while, right?
Yeah. And I think it's by design, right?
Yeah.
I think, first of all, they've gotten bit a number of times by announcing the announcement, right? And like, listen, I'm not a clout chaser. Every time I talk about Roham, I promise you 20 people that are watching this, it's not because I want clout. It's just because I try to give as much context as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So a few weeks back, Roham messaged me on Twitter. And he basically said, obviously, I don't want to give too much detail, but it was after, they laid off a quarter of their staff. And it was kind of like, should I go out there and make some big announcement or should I not do that? Because usually when we do that, we get more negativity than positivity because people think that we're just, talking just for the sake of talking, and maybe actions speak louder than words. And like
you're going to do actions then. Do actions.
Well, that was my response. It was like, if you have real actions coming, do the actions. Don't say anything. Like let the actions speak for themselves. But the caveat was you got to talk to VIP, because I agree with you, Mike. Like I believe that if somebody is investing that much money and has such a vested interest in your product, they do deserve some conversation. They do deserve some level of clarity. Now, mind you, these guys, when they do come into VIP, very, very infrequently, they're not sharing any trade secrets. They don't.
No.
They don't share any alpha. Like, it doesn't happen in there. But you want this
Save
group
that
of
for
people to have access to right, to have access to certain information, mainly because you want them to have a level of confidence buying into your product.
Yeah.
But no, I think their playbook is now, let's not talk. We're afraid of talking because when we talk, they hate us for it. And the reason that they get hate isn't because they're talking, it's because obviously they don't deliver on what they say. So
Right.
that's just what it is.
That's 100% what it is. But we like truly, I mean, like, have we heard from them this season?
So, they laid off a quarter of their staff, and
Yeah.
the person who is the head of the product has been out, hopefully taking care of herself, which, we all want people who aren't well to get better.
Absolutely.
But I don't think they had a plan in place to replace that person. I think what we've been told is they've kind of cobbled little kind of pieces of a bunch of people who are kind of leaning in and helping out with stuff, but there's nobody in that macro role. I think, we saw on LinkedIn, a new video was posted that she's coming back next week. And then maybe that starts anew in terms of figuring out a comms structure. But like, they got rid of some of their comms people. They got rid of their social media people.
Right.
So who's supposed to talk, right? We got Roham, we've got Jacob, obviously Luke is still kind of at least tangentially involved in the brand. I know he's kind of moved on to more of the flow projects, but
yeah,
who's out there to talk? And I think
Scaly Nelson, get Scaly Nelson on Spaces.
Scaly obviously is not afraid to talk. Shout out Scaly. I went in, I DM'd Scaly and I was like, look, I've been burned real bad. So I'm going to offer you less than everybody else offers you, like way less, but you should just sell it to me anyway. And he, politely declined. Yeah. He's like, I can get way more than that. I was like, yeah, I know.
Oh man. I'm so tired of being bummed out, which again is why I've like hesitated from even talking too much about it, because it's truly been like the same thing. And I'm obviously like continuing to root for it and will, be on the sidelines while it's happening. I'm not giving them, like, you could make the packs like, I don't know, a quarter, and I still probably would be sitting it out at this point, because like nothing's fundamentally changing. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same stuff being repackaged. It's like, we care about scarcity, except like we're going to do 5 different versions of this moment, which like was so funny to me, because that was like the biggest complaint from anyone during series 2 was like, oh, the reason series 1 is actually kind of bad is that you have like the base moment, the MGLE, the rookie debut, like the cosmic, the hollow, it's all the same play. And then and everyone agreed with that. Everybody was mad about that for like a little while. And then all of a sudden we come into series 4 and it's like, well, what if we do like scolding hot and ripples and waves? And it's like, I don't know.
You want to know my take on that? And it's different than your take, actually. I don't think any of that matters. Like, I think if they really want to grow up to be a collectibles platform, any collectibles platform, nobody cares about the super accessible stuff at the bottom anyway, right? The cream rises to the top in anything, in art, in trading cards, and whatever the fuck, like any kind of thing that people get passionate about, especially over time. It's always the scarce stuff. So I think we're all driving ourselves crazy worrying about the stuff at the bottom. To me, it doesn't matter if they have 1,000 or if they have 100,000 or if they have 100 million of the stuff that shouldn't matter anyway. The problem is in the way the game is designed, because of these flash challenges and whatnot. They're putting an artificial value on stuff that should be valueless. To me, that's the actual rub. I don't care if there's billions of stuff that shouldn't matter anyway. It's worthless. Whether it's 100 or 100 million, it's worthless.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on it. I think we've gotten ourselves so riled up about supply, when reality, only the stuff at the very high end of any kind of collectible should matter anyway. The problem isn't in supply. We've convinced ourselves that the problem was in supply. I think the problem is more in really shitty game design, and they're catering to the lowest common denominator intentionally, because they want more people to buy the less scarce stuff so that they could eventually buy into,
Well, and it's
so that's my take on it.
It's the only fun thing too. Like fun, I'll put fun in quotations. I haven't been doing it much lately, but that's like the only thing people are paying attention to. That's the only conversation you're seeing on Discord that's positive. Like, it's something about challenges, right? So that's the only thing. And I know that is, if you want to talk about what's killing Top Shot on Twitter, it's not the people flooding. It's the people going back and forth on gamification versus collecting. That's what's killing Top Shot.
Shout out MBL.
Dude, those threads, man, those like where it's like 72 replies, and I'm like, guys, I like no one's moving anything, right? There's no one's changing their mind via this thread at this point. Oh man,
Because it kind of feels like this weird Frankenstein after school science experiment,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and we're all. Oh god, it's so fun, man, so fun. Well, listen, dude,
let's say something positive. Can we say something positive?
Yeah, let's do something positive.
You got anything? No. So first of all, I don't know exactly what I said to rile up Luke, but I'm sorry.
I think it was about. I think he was saying when you were talking
the hall
about,
monitor stuff.
Yeah, talking shit in the Discord, and he even said too, like that was not currently. He's not currently involved, but he was saying that wasn't.
No, I know.
That wasn't
no, true. Listen, I actually like Luke. Like we met Luke out in Vegas. He was a very charming guy. Luke is a good dude. Like no hate against Luke. I think this brand has always had a real problem communicating with their audience. And I think case in point, the guy who used to be the head of the community just got offended because I said something on a stream. And he wanted to now battle one of his biggest customers, right?
No, well, I think, to Dumbo, I mean, I get what you're saying, but to Dumbo's credit, I think he's saying that information was misrepresented. So he was going to bat for the people that he was saying, like his guys, like you were going after.
Listen, I think Luke is great. I think, they've got people like Kyle in the community, on the VIP side. They're doing their best. Like Mo, he's a good kid. Like they all get so much shit. All good people. Like Luke, you've done way more good than bad. I promise you. Did I think early on that people with a basketball acumen who were really steeped in basketball culture should have been front and center talking to the community? Of course. Would that have made a difference? Maybe. I also kind of thought that Jacob shouldn't have been the face of the brand early on. I got a lot of shit for that. I also really like Jacob. Jacob's a great basketball guy. He's not magnetic. He probably shouldn't have been front and center talking to the world on behalf of this brand because that wasn't his role. But I wasn't trying to hate on Jacob early on. I like Jacob. I like a lot of the people. I like all the people, actually. There's nobody at Dapper or Top Shot that I think is bad. I just think we all kind of fit into a natural role. So apologies if I offended you, Luke. I've offended you many times before. I'm sure I will do it many times again. It's never my intention. I think you're a great guy. I think you've done really great stuff on behalf of this platform, this blockchain, this ecosystem. And I think the final thing that I will say is I'm still passionate about the product. Like I'm riding or dying, till the end of time. I'm not like a lot of people. Like I've never taken a penny out of this thing. I'm in so deep, so I'm in it. I want to be part of the solution. I've always kind of, vocally shared that. I think there's potential like anything else. So, if I ever come across as negative or fudding, which, I got accused of back in 2020, I didn't even know what the fuck fudding was. I had to Google that shit 10 times to wrap my head around it because I was so new in this world. No, man, I want to bring people together. I want this thing to succeed. So just,
Yeah, no, I'm obviously with you. We're still doing this every day. We might be talking about it a little bit less, but we're still, we're still in it. We're still rooting for it. And, I am one of those people that long-term am still hopeful and believe in it, but short-term, I'm not spending another dollar. And honestly, if I hadn't locked anything, I would be unloading quite a bit. I was just kind of scrolling through it. I'm like, what am I doing with all of these moments that are $1 that are never going to be more than $1 ever again? Why am I holding these? I'm not jacked up about Robin Lopez. That's not a thing that I'm going to be excited about ever. But again, because I was playing the game that was created, that's why I had a bunch of these things. And it's like, man, what am I doing? So maybe we needed this. Maybe we needed this to readjust how we should be interacting with this platform anyways. But man, I don't know. But dude, listen, I'm glad we were finally able to do this. This was fun. I appreciate anything you need to plug or pump right now.
No, I'm not a big plugger. I'm not a big pumper. Next time we talk hoops. Okay.
Yeah, next time. I know. I was going to split this up actually half and half. I was ready to do 30 on Top Shot and 30 on hoops. And then we were just 2 in the weeds, man. We were 2 in the weeds. And it felt like the people needed it in the chat.
People, they do need it. They do need it. Shout out Yuta Watanabe. That's my new favorite.
Dude, Yuta shooting 90% from corner threes this season.
Love that.
Incredible. It's incredible. That was a great press conference with KD afterwards where I think the question was who would you take right now, Steph or Yuta for a 3? It was great. All right, I'll get you out of here and then I'll spin these giveaways. But thanks again, man, for coming on. Appreciate it. Let's do it again soon.
Anytime, brother.
All right, later, Metz. All right, last call here. Last call. Like the stream, subscribe to Team Hold, and then do me a favor. Put hashtag Metz into the chat. We'll spin this away. Let me actually see what I'm giving away here. Let me see what I'm giving away. Because, or by me, I mean K Dunn, because our man K Dunn was the Sneeps is giving away a Taco Fall. And K Dunn, let's see what K Dunn sent my way. But again, this is the only show that we're doing today, and then just stay tuned for what's coming at us in the next couple of days because of the holidays and travel, and I'm sure I'm going to slow content down a wee bit. Sorry it's taking me a second to get to my moments because guess what? Buy packs, because that shows up anytime you go to any sort of freaking thing on the site right now. It tells you to buy a pack. It's an Evan Mobley fandom award. I'm sorry, Rising Star, an Evan Mobley Rising Star. So we're going to spin it twice. Do me a favor. There's a bunch of links in our show notes, right? If you haven't signed up for So Rare yet, use our link. I'll actually put this in the chat. But if you sign up now, you get 20 free common cards. You can play for free. You don't have to do a damn thing. You can play for free. You don't have to spend any money. You just make some fantasy basketball lineups. However, if you do buy 5 things on the auction, you get a 6th one free, and it helps us out a little bit. If you are new to our channel, you can join the Discord. You can find a link to that. You can also check out On the Moment. You can check out Momentum Labs. You can join VIP, all the shit. But yeah, hey, as always, appreciate everyone being here. Even Dumbo. We had a Dumbo sighting. My man's going to be on like 2 hours of sleep right now. But I know there was like a lot of negativity, but it came from a good place. I hope people found this helpful and didn't walk away from this like angrier than they were before. But good shit. All right, we're going to spin this thing 2 times. We're going to spin it 2 times. 2 times. All right, here we go. Spin it. This is going to be we'll do Evan Mobley first. Evan Mobley from our man K Dunn. Appreciate y'all for giving some moments to give away because I'm running out of them. All right, who's it going to be? Ooh, almost Poker Pro Eric. George St. Ledger. Jorge St. Ledger. Congratulations. You have won an Evan Mobley. And then last but not least, we'll do a Taco Fall from a man Sneeps. If you win this thing, shoot me a DM either at Mike Zakarian. Oh, wait, what's going on here? There we go. Sorry. At Mike Zakarian or in the Discord. Trevor Sinclair. Congratulations, Trevor. Big W's over there. Look at theirs. There's K Dunn right there. Good stuff, everybody. Again, thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope you guys have a great holiday if I don't see you before then. Otherwise, we'll, just stay tuned. All right. We out.